On July 1996, the remains of a human skeleton were found along a riverbank of Columbia River in Washington state. At first, it was believed to be a crime scene, but after the remains were sent to a lab and they were radiocarbon dated, it was found that the remains were 9,000 years old and belonged to a man that they later called the Kennewick Man. However, the discovery of these remains quickly started a debate between the scientists and Native Americans, especially since the remains of the Kennewick Man were the oldest to date to be found in the United States. The Native Americans claimed that the remains were of an ancient ancestor they called the Ancient One, and they were driven to ensure that the remains got a proper burial. Scientists, on the other hand, argued that the remains of the Kennewick Man couldn't be linked to any living Native Americans, and that based on the cranial morphology of the Kennewick Man, he wasn't Native American at all. The original classification of the Kennewick Man was that he was a Cascoid, meaning that he was closely related to Europeans. That was based off just an analysis of his cranial and his skull. However, due to the later advancements in DNA technology, it allowed scientists to trace the DNA of his ancestors. The DNA of the Kennewick Man was found to contain a Y genome in the DNA that was linked specifically to Native Americans. It was determined that he was in fact a Native American, which allowed the Native American Graves Protection and Repossession Act to help get the remains of the Kennewick Man back into the possession of the Native Americans. While the remains would allow scientists to gain more knowledge of what life was like 9,000 years ago through the analysis of his DNA and comparing data and stats of how life changed over time, I believe that the Native Americans do deserve the remains of the Kennewick Man, especially due to the solid DNA evidence that is presented. The Y genome is only found specifically in Native Americans. So I believe that evidence is solid enough to confirm that he in fact is a Native American. I also believe that the Native Americans deserve to provide him with a proper ritual burial so that his spirit can travel to the afterlife.